Today, we're going to be diving into the world of trust and resilience in relationships, anchored by the work of Dr. John Gottman. Dr. John Gottman is one of the world's experts on marriage, both a leading researcher and a clinician. We're going to be diving into what Gottman calls the sound relationship house, a framework that he developed after decades of studying what makes relationships strong, satisfying, and enduring. Gottman's renowned for his scientific rigor in observing relationships and understanding the dynamics that determine whether couples stay together or drift apart. Yet, as his research evolved, he found that trust is the linchpin that holds all other aspects of a relationship together. Without it, the pillars of love, understanding, and connection quickly erode and fall apart. Why does trust hold such a power in a relationship? Trust isn't just about believing in someone's reliability. It's the bedrock that allows intimacy to flourish, making room for vulnerability and emotional safety. Trust sustains the resilience of a relationship, allowing partners to lean on one another through life's challenges and navigate the inevitable conflicts that they're going to have together with compassion rather than defensiveness and even cruelty. It forms a sense of security that lets both people truly feel at home with one another. This enables the relationship to grow, for joy to grow, and for healing to happen from hard times. In this presentation, I'm going to walk you through Gottman's Sound Relationship House, step by step, breaking down each level and its role in building a trust-based relationship. Now, you got to imagine a house built on a sturdy foundation. Each level supports the next, providing a structure that can weather life storms. As we explore each level, you're going to gain practical tools and insights that you can use in your own relationship or to help others strengthen theirs. Whether it's learning to turn toward one another in daily interactions, managing conflicts in a way that preserves connection, or creating shared meaning through mutual goals and rituals, every aspect of the sound relationship house plays a role in fostering trust. So here's what to expect in this exploration. We're going to start with the foundational level that build emotional closeness and connection. These are the skills that help partners feel known, valued, and respected by one another. Next, we'll move through the levels that help manage inevitable conflict in healthy, constructive ways without eroding the respect and warmth that the relationship needs. And finally, we're going to explore how trust can be nurtured over time and how a couple can create shared meaning, dreams, and a life of mutual support. Now, the goal of this presentation is more than just understanding what makes relationships work. It's about discovering how to create a relationship where both partners feel secure, appreciated, and deeply connected. A relationship where trust isn't just present, but continually grows. So, whether you're here to strengthen your own relationship or support others in their journey, or simply gain a better understanding of what makes love thrive, this presentation offers a pathway toward building a relationship where trust becomes the cornerstone of a lasting, joyful connection. So, let's dive into the Sound Relationship House, the model itself. In Gottman's theory, each of the seven levels of this house builds upon the previous, fostering a deeper connection, resilience, and bringing about more trust in the relationship. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go through each level, exploring how they contribute to the foundation of a loving partnership, and provide specific practical ways to bring these elements into your life. Now, the first level is building love maps. Building love maps is about knowing your partner's inner emotional world, understanding who they are beyond day to day interactions. Love maps include knowledge of each other's personal history, what they're worrying about right now, what are their hopes and their dreams today. This level is about creating a map of your partner's landscape, their preferences, their triggers, and the things that make them come alive. But building love maps is not easy. You have to invest a lot of time doing that, constantly updating that map. It's never going to be static. And by building love maps, we give our partners the gift of feeling seen and understood. So this is going to follow you throughout your entire relationship, constantly changing. There's three practical tips to develop this first level. First, ask open-ended questions. Move beyond surface level questions. How you doing? Instead of asking how was your day, try what made you feel most proud today? Or is there anything on your mind lately that you haven't shared? These questions invite your partner to open up, showing genuine interest, and they're also value-based. They're more focusing on the inner emotional meaning part of a person's day, as opposed to the surface level, what'd you have for breakfast? The second practical tip is remember key details. When your partner shares something meaningful, keep it in mind. For example, if they mention they're nervous about a presentation, you got to follow up later by asking, hey, how did that presentation go? By tracking the details, you can affirm that these things are important to you, deepening the connection. A final suggestion is check in regularly. Set aside a few minutes daily or weekly to touch base on a deeper level. This can be as simple as a coffee check-in every Sunday morning where you ask each other, "Hey, what's one thing you're looking forward to this week?" The second level is nurturing fondness and admiration. Fondness and admiration are essential components of respect and appreciation in relationships. This level involves actively looking for qualities in your partner that you admire and regularly expressing those sentiments. This is not a one and done deal. I told you I loved you when I married you. It's got to be an everyday thing. Cultivating this habit counters negative thinking that your partner might be having and developing. As people, we do have an inherent predisposition towards thinking about the worst case scenarios. And this also helps maintain a positive perspective, even during difficult times. So it has a sort of a building of resilience in the relationship to get through tough times. A couple practical tips. Express appreciation often. Make it a habit to notice and verbally acknowledge the things your partner does that you appreciate, no matter how small or silly it might seem. For example, thank you for making dinner tonight. It really made my evening easier. You can create an appreciation ritual. Consider starting a daily ritual where you both share something you admire or appreciate about each other. This could be a quick, hey, you know what I appreciate about you today? Right before you guys go to bed. A third practical tip is to celebrate small wins together. Life's tough. Everyone's got a lot of challenges. And if your partner achieves something, no matter how small, they were able to meet a work deadline, or they finished a personal project, or they were able to manage to get to the gym, celebrate it. This acknowledgement keeps the admiration that you have for one another alive and strengthens the bond of shared success. The third level is turning toward each other. Now, turning toward each other is about recognizing and responding to what Gottman calls the bids for attention, affection, or support that the partner makes throughout the day. These bids can be small, like a comment about the weather, or being uncomfortable in some small way, or just sharing a simple worry. It might even just be looking out the window and saying, hmm, out loud. And responding to these bids builds an emotional bank account of positive interactions that support the relationship when times are tough or when a fight comes up. Here are a few tips. Be mindful of bids for connection. If your partner makes an offhanded comment like, oh, look at the sunset, instead of ignoring it, acknowledge and engage. You could say something like, "Oh, that really is beautiful. Hey, what's your favorite thing about sunsets?" This small act strengthens the connection. Practice active listening is another tip. When your partner shares something, a small thought, a little observation, you got to listen attentively. Show that you're listening by nodding, keeping eye contact, or giving a short verbal acknowledgement. That sounds exciting. Or even a is enough. The last tip is join in on the shared moment. When your partner is doing an activity they enjoy, cooking, watching a favorite show, just try joining in. You don't have to do it the whole time. Even just a little visit's enough. Shared moments of everyday joy reinforces those bonds. By doing things together, you guys are together. Fourth level of this house is the positive perspective. Now, the positive perspective means that couples who have invested in the previous levels, they tend to give each other the benefit of the doubt. When we have a strong emotional bank account, we're less likely to assume negative intent, more likely to interpret actions as positive or neutral, even during minor conflicts. A few practical tips: pause before reacting. When faced with a minor annoyance, take a deep breath, remind yourself of your partner's good intentions, what you love about them. For example, if they forgot something important, try saying to yourself, nah, I know they didn't mean it. They didn't mean to forget. And let them know that. Communicate this intention to them, that you're intending to look at them positively. I know you didn't mean to forget. Maybe we can find a way to remind each other. You're throwing in a practical solution. Use gentle language with them. If you need to bring up an issue, choose words that are non accusatory, not judgmental. Instead of saying, you never listen to me, you could just say, sometimes I feel unheard. And I'd love to work on communicating better together. Also notice there you're shifting what's the subject of that sentence. Instead of you never listen, you're owning your own feelings. I feel unheard. That's incredibly important. And later in the series we're going to be diving into that very important difference. And the last practical tip is practicing empathy. Consider your partner's perspective, especially in moments of tension. Try to think, what might they be feeling right now? Empathy helps you maintain positive regard even when you all disagree. The fifth level is managing conflict constructively. Listen, conflict is inevitable, but how you manage it determines the health of your relationship. Rather than focusing on resolving everyday disagreements, Gottman suggests that couples aim to manage conflicts, especially those stemming from personality differences, through healthy communication and constructive repair attempts. So, for example, when a conflict is popping up, use a soft startup. When bringing up an issue, start the conversation gently. Instead of, God, you always forget to clean up, try something a lot less confrontational. Hey, it would mean a lot to me if we could work together on this thing to keep the house tidy. Use repair attempts is another tip. If things get heated, use humor or a caring gesture, a hug to diffuse the situation. This could be as simple as saying, "Hey, this feels tense. Can we pause for a second?" Or even making a silly face to lighten the mood, or a well-timed joke. Be careful with the jokes they're not cutting, and probably best to use a joke that's more self-deprecating than insulting to your partner. Ah, you know me, here I go again. You can also practice self-soothing. If you're feeling overwhelmed during conflict, take a break to calm down. 15, 20 minutes ain't going to kill you, especially if you don't do that, the fight's going to last an hour. Let your partner know, hey, I need a few minutes here to clear my mind. I really want to talk about this in a constructive way with you. Can I have that time? The sixth level is making life dreams come true. A healthy relationship supports each partner's individual dreams and their ambitions. By creating an environment where both feel comfortable discussing their deepest aspirations, the relationship becomes a source of encouragement and support, making each partner's dreams feel valued and achievable. So, one practical tip would be share your aspirations regularly. Ask each other about personal goals and things they're striving for. For example, hey, is there anything you've been dreaming about or hoping to achieve this year? You can also offer concrete support. If your partner mentions a goal, think of small ways you can support them. Be proactive here. So, for example, if they want to run a marathon, offer to join them for training or help organize their schedule to make time for training. You know what? I'll handle dinner. You go out and do a quick run. You can also celebrate progress, recognizing and celebrating the steps that that your partner is making towards their dreams is huge, even if it's a small milestone. This could be a special dinner after they finish a course, or writing a quick, sweet note after a major accomplishment at work. The last level is creating shared meaning. Creating shared meaning involves building a life together that's more than just living together. It's about creating a shared purpose, values, and shared meaningful rituals. These practices and beliefs provide a sense of identity and belonging within the relationship. A few nice tips: establish rituals of connection, build rituals that bring you together, like morning coffee, like I mentioned before, a weekly movie night, or annual family traditions. These rituals provide anchors that reinforce your bond. Discuss values and goals. Take the time to discuss the values that are most important to each of you. How do you guys envision spending the holidays? What do you want to prioritize in life? Your family, career, travel. And you can also create joint goals. Work on creating and achieving goals together. These can range from financial goals, saving for a house, to personal development goals, like learning a new language. Joint goals help you feel like a team working toward a shared future. Now, each of these levels we covered build on the previous, creating a cumulative effect that fosters trust, emotional safety, and resilience within the relationship. Through practice, like building love maps and turning towards each other, couples create an environment where positive emotions flourish and mutual support feels natural. Conflict management tools like soft startups and repair attempts allow couples to navigate challenges respectfully, reinforcing the strengths of their bond. By nurturing each level of the sound relationship house, you aren't just building a relationship, you're constructing a strong, resilient foundation that can withstand the natural ups and downs of life, because they're going to come. And by preparing ahead of time is really the best way forward. It's a commitment to continually investing in each other's happiness, safety, and growth, creating a relationship that feels like a home. So, what's the role of trust in the sound relationship house? So in Dr. John Gottman's sound relationship house model, trust isn't just one layer or skill. It's the foundations that supports the entire structure, every layer of the model, from understanding each other's inner worlds to managing conflict constructively. It all contributes to building trust. But trust requires special attention and consistent nurturing. It's something that partners create together over time through actions that reinforce emotional safety and reliability. This process is known as emotional attunement, where both of you learn to tune into each other's emotional needs, actively listening with care. To make trust a living part of the relationship, it's essential to practice it daily in small but meaningful ways. So, we're going to explore some practical steps for building and deepening trust. So, first, focusing on consistency in action. This is the foundation of trust. Small, reliable gestures accumulate over time to form a history of dependability in a relationship. This means showing up for your partner, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it matters to them. A couple examples of consistency in action is keeping your promises. If you say it, you better do it, following through, even if something small that you don't think is a big deal. Another booby trap for a lot of people are dates. A lot of people are bad at remembering dates, but you have to remember the important ones. Birthdays, anniversaries, anything meaningful. Jot it down, set an alarm. And being predictable and routine. Trust grows when both partners know what's going to happen. And consistently and predictably being someone that they can count on is the bottom line here. When you're there and you're always there, trust is also going to be there. The second component here is emotional attunement. Now, this is about being present and engaged in your partner's emotional world genuinely. It's got to be deep and an ongoing practice of listening and responding with empathy without jumping in with solutions or judgments. When your partner feels heard and validated, they will feel safe, they will feel trust. A couple examples of emotional attunement would be active listening. And when your partner shares something, a small frustration or a huge deal, listen without distraction. Put down your phone, make eye contact, root yourself in that moment. Communicate. That sounds really tough. Or tell me more about what happened. Validate their feelings and show that you're fully there with them. You also need to reflect their emotions back. This is called reflective listening, where you mirror your partner's feelings. This can be so deeply affirming. For example, if your partner says, "Man, I'm stressed about this project at work," respond back with, "Wow, that sounds like that project is really overwhelming. That's got to be exhausting." Reflecting back helps them feel understood. Last, creating space for vulnerability is also incredibly important. Sometimes emotional attunement means creating a space where your partner feels safe enough to express difficult feelings without fear of being judged or being dismissed. For example, if you're expressing disappointment in a decision you made, instead of becoming defensive, respond with openness. I can see why you feel that way. I'd love to understand more so we can work through this. The willingness to listen to difficult feelings without reacting defensively deepens trust. Honoring boundaries and commitments is a third area of focus. Now, boundaries in a relationship aren't just about what's forbidden, they're about establishing a safe and predictable space where both partners feel respected. Trust grows when partners honor each other's boundaries, which could be as profound as fidelity or as simple as respecting each other's personal time and space. A couple examples of honoring boundaries and commitments are respecting personal space. In a healthy relationship, honoring each other's needs for alone time is a sign of respect and trust. Your partner might have a weekly night out with their friends. Avoid questioning or making them feel guilty about it. Instead, support them in their need for connection outside the relationship. Upholding agreements around privacy is another area to focus on. Maintaining privacy within the relationship is key. This could mean refraining from reading each other's texts or emails without permission. Trust requires that each partner feels secure in their own autonomy within the relationship. It's not as though you sacrifice your identity or sacrifice your privacy just because you're with somebody. For instance, if your partner has shared something personal in confidence, respecting that privacy both with friends and family also is a demonstration of that deep respect. Privacy can be privacy within the relationship between you two and outside the relationship, so to speak, allowing your partner to have a private life. Fidelity and loyalty is a big one. Trust involves honoring commitments to exclusivity in the relationship. That's loyalty. This means that both physical and emotional fidelity is key. It's not just not having other partners, but it also means not flirting. Staying committed to each other's emotional well being can also mean setting boundaries in relationships outside of this partnership. For example, if your partner feels uncomfortable with certain friends, have an open conversation about those boundaries and how to navigate them together to ensure mutual comfort and security. In that area, we're talking about less having other partners as much as who is going along with your partner. They're friends, and it does not, just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you get drug along with every other relationship your partner's in. And protecting time together. Making time together is a priority even amidst a busy schedule. That reinforces that the relationship matters. Setting a weekly date night and honoring that commitment, regardless of distractions, shows dedication to shared time and reinforces that trust. Keeping the outside world outside. Building trust isn't about grand gestures. It's a series of consistent small actions that together create an unshakable foundation. Research shows that these daily interactions, the ways partners consistently show up for each other, matter immensely. When both partners commit to these practices, they're creating a safe space where vulnerability and connection can flourish. Now, over time, trust becomes not just an intention, but an integral, unspoken strength that holds the relationship together, helping it weather the ups and downs of normal life. In a world that often pulls us in 100 different directions, prioritizing these small acts of reliability and boundary respect builds trust that is deeply affirming and enduring. This trust is what allows love to thrive, not just in the best of times, but through the moments that challenge us most. A part of developing trust, we have to also start tackling the idea of recognizing and repairing betrayal. Trust, in essence, is a fragile yet profound element in any relationship. It binds two people together, allowing them to feel safe and valued. But trust can be easily damaged, sometimes in ways that are not so dramatic, they're not overt, they're not these big events. It can be, in some sense, water torture, small drips wearing away over time. It doesn't always take this major event like infidelity to shake those foundations of trust. Something as small as just being dismissive, withdrawn, or unreliable can chip away at trust over time. When trust is compromised, it requires intentional and oftentimes a prolonged effort to repair. Restoring trust is possible, but it requires a commitment to consistency and sincerity. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to explore how partners can work to recognize re- betrayal, repair it, and rebuild that trust with practical strategies. The first key here is acknowledging and apologizing. This first step to repairing trust is essential. Acknowledging the behavior that caused the hurt. This means taking full ownership, not just of the action, but also the impact it had on your partner's life. A genuine apology is not about excuses. It's about understanding how your partner felt and expressing real remorse. In order to do this, you have to first validate your partner's experience. You have to start by genuinely listening to how your partner feels. For example, if you missed an important event or made a dismissive comment, you have to acknowledge that hurt by saying, listen, I realize how I hurt you. I realize how it must have felt when I wasn't there for you, especially when you needed me most. I'm really sorry for letting you down. You also have to avoid being defensive while you do it. Resisting the urge to minimize the hurt or justify your actions. Instead of saying, I didn't think it was that big a deal. You have to lean into this and say, I see now that it was important to you. I understand how my actions hurt you. And finally, you have to be specific in your apology. Sweeping generalities are not going to cut it. Specific apologies resonate more than being vague. Instead of a general, I'm sorry, you have to apologize by saying, I'm sorry for dismissing your feelings last night. I was wrong to react that way. I regret the pain I caused you. This specificity shows that you fully understand what went wrong, which makes your apology more impactful and sincere. A second piece here is rebuilding through consistency. Once an apology has been made, the work of rebuilding trust begins. Trust isn't built overnight. It's restored through consistent and reliable actions that gradually reassure your partner that you're committed. This requires a steady dedication to showing up in ways that demonstrate trustworthiness over time. This means honoring your commitments, no matter how small. If you say you're going to be home by 10 o'clock, you better be home by 10 o'clock. You have to prioritize your partner and follow through with that commitment. Even small promises, when kept consistently, will help rebuild trust. If you've promised to be more mindful about responding to text messages during the day, do it. Something as small as that will make improvements. You also have to show up when it counts. During times of stress, you have to especially show up. If your partner is going through a challenging work deadline, be there to support them. Whether it's as simple as cooking dinner. Don't worry, honey, I got this. You have this deadline. You've been working hard all day. I got dinner. It's taco night. Demonstrate reliability when your partner is vulnerable. This builds trust and reassures them that they can count on you. And finally, create new rituals of reassurance. Developing regular rituals that rebuild a sense of security is also just as important. If trust was broken due to emotional distance, not showing up, not being around, establish a nightly check in where each of you share something about your day. Over time, again, the idea here is consistency. This will rebuild that emotional connection. A third piece here is to revisit your relationship foundations. Repairing trust requires more than consistent action, even though it's an incredibly important component here. It can't be underestimated. But it often necessitates revisiting and strengthening the root foundational elements of your relationship. Each level of the sound relationship house contributes to a secure relationship foundation, and strengthening these levels can help partners feel safer, more connected, and reassured. By by focusing on love maps, nurturing fondness, turning towards each other, partners can reestablish the emotional safety that trust requires. A few practical steps to revisit your relationship foundations would be rebuilding love maps, going back to that particular part of things. After a breach of trust, it can be helpful to return to the basics of understanding each other. Spend time getting to know each other again, asking about dreams and worries and daily experiences. Really, you should be doing this throughout your entire relationship, but especially with rebuilding trust, there's a different spirit that goes on when doing this. This could really involve setting aside time each week, asking these fundamental questions like, what's something you're looking forward to? Or is there anything on your mind that you haven't shared? When there is a breach of trust, uh, not that a person's love map is completely changed, but there are changes. And so getting an update here is incredibly important. Going back to expressing fondness and admiration regularly, again, putting emphasis on that one. When trust is broken, people are feeling unappreciated and undervalued. So you have to actively express that admiration more than you would otherwise. You have to restore the positive feelings. Look for genuine moments to compliment or thank your partner for. I really appreciate how thoughtful you are with the kids, or, thank you so much for being patient with me as we work through this, work through the taxes, working through these bills. These sort of affirmations build a culture of appreciation in your relationship, replacing the hurt with warmth and reinforcing turning towards each other. In daily life, you have to make an effort to respond positively to your partner's bids for connection. These small comments, these small gestures takes on a whole new meaning. In many cases, your partner might be even covering over their bids. There'll be this feeling of, is it there, is it not there? So doubling down on that as well is incredibly important. Healing from betrayal is a journey that often requires patience and compassion. It requires a willingness to work together toward a shared future. It's about being proactive at the end of the day. You have to be in your actions, demonstrate your commitment. You have to, in your actions, show understanding for the hurt that was caused, as well as verbally. and emotionally. Slowly but surely, this will rebuild a foundation that can support the new trust you're building. By prioritizing these steps, acknowledging the hurt, being consistent in positive actions, and revisiting the foundational elements of connection, you create a path for healing that both practically and in a meaningful way. Betrayal doesn't have to define the future of a relationship, and with effort and empathy, and again, consistency, it can instead become a stepping stone toward a renewed and deeper trust, one that's fortified by the hard work of reconciliation and the power of resilience, of genuine love. Looking back regarding everything we've talked about today, we're left with a profound understanding that trust is not a single action. It's not a one-time declaration. Trust is woven through a relationship's very fabric, an enduring and intentional practice that's nurtured moment by moment, day by day. The sound relationship house model gives you a compassionate and structured approach to cultivating trust, offering a couple a path forward to rebuild resilience or build it for the first time, and to create that intimacy, which is going to be able to withstand both life's storms and give you the foundation to more powerfully celebrate life's joys. Through the sound relationship house model, we see that trust is supported by each level of connection, from the foundational love maps that create a sense of being known, to the powerful turning toward one another in everyday moments. Trust thrives when we cultivate admiration, when we honor our partner's dreams, and when we foster shared meaning in our lives together. Each level reinforces that relationship's core, helping partners feel valued, seen, and safe. The model also reminds us that trust isn't only the ground we walk on in a relationship, but it's also the walls and the roof that protect and sustain us. We've also discussed how trust can be repaired when broken. Recognizing this process requires humility and accountability. It's a shared commitment to rebuild. Trust, once damaged, calls for patience and empathy. It calls for a willingness to revisit our relationship's core foundations and through steady, caring actions, restore that safety, which allows love to flourish. By applying these insights on consistent action, emotional attunement, and honoring each other's boundaries, couples can find a new pathway forward to reconnect and strengthen their bonds again. What's inspiring about the Sound Relationship House is this message of hope. Trust is never beyond reach, even in moments of doubt or difficulty. Trust can be reclaimed through intentional choices and mutual care. It's a journey that asks us to be mindful, to show up each day with love, and to keep choosing each other, not out of obligation, but out of a profound respect for not just the person, but the relationship both are building together. As we sum things up here, may we carry with us the understanding that trust is both a commitment and a gift, a promise we make to show up fully, to listen deeply, and to love with intention. Through these practices, we create a relationship that not only endures, but also inspires, filled with resilience, warmth, and the steady presence of a love we can trust.